What up, Grizz Nation, and welcome back to Grizz 901, your number one Memphis Grizzlies post-game show. And it's not even close. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a guest with us tonight. It is Ryan. He is here with us. He'll be joining us just shortly, but the Grizzlies do win 123-98 versus the Portland Trailblazers, who honestly, they looked a little sad. They gave the game very much close to it in the third quarter, but the Grizzlies end up pulling out as they always do late into the third and then ran away with it into the fourth. But the Grizzlies, they look good, and they played well on the back of Morant, who had 22 and 11 tonight. So another good game out of him, a good return game out of him, and they only had to play him 23 minutes. And so overall, you can't complain out of that. So the chat's already popping. If you're just joining us for the first time ever, thank you. But what we do things here is we try to bring in the chat as much as possible. If you're watching on Twitter, thank you so much. Like and share over there. But if you'll join us over on YouTube at Bluff City Media, the chat is already popping as it always is. But it's a Monday night. Let's get the show going. Yo, what up, Ryan? What up, man?
Very excited. I very excite. That's my Borat impression. No, Yuki missed his one shot. I think we've got to trade him.
I'd say we get rid of, should we get rid of him? Is he done?
I think he's hit the top tip of his bounce, and it's only downhill from here for Yuki.
Hey, listen, it's just a tip for Yuki. We're going to keep going the game tonight. The game was very good, we'll say. Very good. But the game overall, the Grizzlies jumped out very early. Ja looked incredible. And so off the top, Ryan, your thoughts on Ja Morant and what he looked like tonight?
Yeah, I had no idea what to expect. I was actually a little nervous. I wasn't expecting him to come back. And then he played us all the hits, yep. Right? Like he's the behind the back passes, the dunk and traffic. Like he just played all the hits. And it was nice to see him back, even though I got really nervous when he took that one little, when he got hit by somebody. I can't remember who it was. And he pulled up lame a little bit. I was like, oh God, why'd we do this? Why'd we rush this back?
Yeah. We don't want to just bring him back too quickly. But it was a great game out of Ja. It was a great game out of the entire just kind of team, just in general. But we're going to get into all the different stats with all the guys. We're also going to hit on Grizz trivia midway through. And I have one that I actually have stats for, okay? I actually have real stats for. I'm hoping they update as we're kind of talking for the next 30 minutes. If they don't, I have stats that are already preloaded before this game. So either way, I have stats and I have a question for you. And then you're going to give us a live look ahead, Ryan, a live one as we look ahead to the next game. But let's go ahead and get to this game. The Grizzlies, they start off hot, man, with Ja on his 22-11. But let's talk about other guys. Let's talk about BC. 11-9 out of BC. No assists because when he gets the ball, he's just as surprised as everybody else. And so he usually shoots it. So 11-9 out of BC. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, the good thing was he didn't shoot any threes tonight, right? And he didn't really have to against this Blazers team. No, I thought he got more back to what makes BC, right? Like he kind of roamed the middle a little bit. And he shot that floater, which has been that's why he got his contract, right?
Yep.
With the Grizzlies, is just his efficiency from that floater. So it's nice to see him get back to that. He looked like, I think I said last time I was on here with you, like when BC is ready, to me, he's the starter. Like he's a 5. And I think it just takes time with him to feel more comfortable on his legs. I thought he looked bouncier tonight in some of the alley-oops that he got. So I think over time, he's going to feel more and more confident. The bounce and athleticism is going to come back little by little. And I think we saw a little bit of that tonight from BC.
Yeah, and that as Wayno's saying, the best stat of the night. Maybe this is the Grizz trivia. How many three-pointers has our guy BC taken? Well, 0 the last 2 games. But 0 from deep. Let's go to Jaren a little bit. And as Goon the Shooter, we'll give him his love. He wants to play an undersized team for the rest of the season. I know why. But Jaren tonight, 21, 6 and 1, 2 of 2 from deep. He ended up being a plus 17 over his only 28 minutes, which led the team. So thoughts on Jaren? How's he look? How's he look for this game? But also, I think the whole season, I think we'd have that same story on Jaren.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the first 3 quarters he looked pretty rough. I mean, he was missing a lot of shots that he typically makes. And then the fourth quarter was kind of put his head down and go finish, right? Like he just kind of found it. And that's what's scary about this team because Bay didn't have a great game. Wells didn't have a good game.
Right.
But at any point, all 5 of them can have moments, right? They've all had, well, maybe not BC, but for BC's level, he's had a moment tonight, right?
Right.
And if he can just be consistent, that'd be great. But they can all have quarters like this, which is not something we've really been used to in the past. So Jaren has had an all-star caliber season. I mean, all the metrics kind of show you that, you know, you want to talk about EPM, box plus minus, we can get into the nerdy stuff. All of his numbers indicate someone who's typically an all-star selection. Will he be rewarded that way? Probably not from a fan vote side, but probably from a coach vote side if it holds up, right? And there's no reason to believe that it won't. So he's had a really good season. Of course, he has ups and downs, but I don't think, you know, in the past few years, if Jaren was having an off game like the first 3 quarters of this game, we haven't seen like a fourth quarter. Okay, I've had a bad 3 quarters. Now I'm going to take over. And he did tonight. So that's just the growth of him as a player. And it's really exciting to see.
One word answer, yes or no. Is Jaren an all-star this season?
Yes.
Okay. I like it. All right, let's go to some other guys real quick. Jalen Wells, 16 minutes, really just could not get into the game. Obviously, you have Ja coming back. You also have Marcus Smart coming back, and so it throws a little bit of a kink in there. But the Grizzlies played 11 guys again.
In the first quarter, too.
Yeah, Scottie Pippen Jr. only playing 14 minutes overall.
Yeah.
How tough is it going to be for those guys to really settle into these new roles? Because this is really where their role should be. They're kind of playing over their skis a little bit. How are they going to have to come back and adjust?
I think that's part of where the coaching comes into play here because I don't know how sustainable it is to go 11 guys in a 12-minute quarter, right? Like,
yeah,
Scottie Pippen didn't really come into the final 2 minutes of the first quarter. Wells played the first 6 minutes, and then he didn't come back until like 5 minutes left of the second quarter. And that was probably only because I think somebody got injured or was in foul trouble or something. So it's weird rhythm for those kind of guys to go from playing a lot to now you're playing these kind of set rotational things. So I just think the coaching staff is experimenting right now. They finally have a full roster besides, you know, Vince and Gigi, and God knows what they're going to do when those two come back and we have everybody here. But I do think it's a conversation that we could probably have soon in the next couple weeks of who are those guys on the outside looking in, which I know people have been talking about for, you know, months anyways, but realistically, like, is Scottie Pippen Jr. even part of a rotation when we're healthy? Conversation, right? Like Jake LaRavia has done great things. Yeah. Is he part of an actual rotation? It's just interesting where they can go moving forward. There's a lot of paths that they can go down.
And that's the versatility of this team is very good. The Warriors, just as Art's saying, they're playing 11 and 12 man rotation as well. And they're playing very well. I believe there's somebody else. I cannot think of the top of my head. Do you know who the other team is that's playing 11, 12 guys sometimes? I cannot remember who it is. Is it Philly? I don't think it's Philly.
Well, that would be out of necessity.
True.
No, I can't really think of anyone. Maybe the Thunder potentially.
I think that's actually who
11 or 12.
That's who it is. Yeah, you're right. It is the Thunder. Yeah. But anyway, all right, let's get to let's kind of keep moving on. And we had a question from Drew. He wants to know what's up with Dez.
Well, I actually mentioned this to you and Nate after last game. Are we sure he's healed completely from the oblique injury? Because I know he had a great game. What was it, 2 games ago? But, you know, we're not used to seeing Dez go up and down like this. Yeah. Like, he's always been like a consistent player for us recently. So I don't know if maybe it's still an oblique thing. I mean, the only reason I say that is because of Paolo Banchero, right? Like,
Mhm.
I think him and Banchero had an oblique strain at the same time. I'm sure there's degrees of strains. I'm not a doctor, but um,
There is degrees of strains probably, I would assume.
on that,
If
I
I
would
was a smart
assume,
person, yeah.
yeah, just guessing. I don't know.
Probably.
Um, but Bang came back pretty quick from it, so I
Yeah.
don't know what's going if he's not healthy still. That's
Yeah.
my only guess is the inconsistency.
And honestly, so a little bit on this, I would assume, as Kenny's saying, he stands with a heating pad. Honestly, his games where he looks good, where he can't move. It just like right now, I don't think I have this uploaded. If I get a chance, I'll do it at the very end of the show, just because one, my wife makes fun of me, my kids make fun of me. She shows it to her friends. Her friends show it to their friends. It's going around. So I was caught on the Ring camera shooting basketball with my daughter. I was letting her get 10 shots. She has to make 10 before she can come back in. We're just trying to work on her arc. Right, she's
Okay.
6, but we're
Yeah.
working on her arc. And so I was like, you know what? I'll go rebound for you real quick. We're in the backyard in the grass area, right? Nothing can go wrong. She's shooting. I literally put out one hand to grab the rebound, and my whole body just goes limp because I pulled a muscle in my back. And I know a lot of people don't know this. Like
Uh,
I played college baseball. That's not part of the story. But during baseball, I had just chronic back issues that was like muscles going in for my. I learned. So you had your hamstring muscle connects to your back, all that's intertwined somewhere. And so I'd always have to go to the physical therapy at least twice a week, kind of keep heating pad on, the electrodes and all that. Anyway, it's literally I pulled a muscle in my back and I just put me to my knees and I'm literally crawling to the chair and my daughter's laughing at me. But I'm gonna and then like my wife who has
uh,
obviously just got out of knee surgery for her ACL. I'm supposed to be the one taking care of her. And so it's an S show. Anyway, but yes, I feel bad if it is a back. I think what you'll see, all that story to come to this, is I think you'll see him take a game or so off here and there. As long as Ja's back, as long as Smart's back, you'll see him take a game off for rest. See if they can catch like a 4-day stretch where he might not have to do anything
yeah.
to get it back. So that's kind of where I was going with that before I just kind of get into my story. But all right, so we talked a little bit about all the starters mainly. Let's go to the bench. And so the first one I want to say is where
I
is
thought
it?
they were awesome tonight.
The Black Ninja DJ. Santi getting 17 rebounds was not on his bingo card. Thoughts on Santi?
I mean, he had a good rebounding game. That was about all I can say about Santi tonight. But no, he's had a good season for Santi. Um, like I'm not a huge Santi fan where I think my biggest questions about Santi are what does Santi look like in the playoffs, right? Does he look like someone who can play 20-ish, 24 minutes in a tough playoff series? I
Okay.
don't know, right? Like I don't know if he's consistent enough
Right.
for that yet. So I mean, Santi is a good player. He fits perfectly in the system. He's benefited a lot by this, just like Laravia has. But when it gets tough in the playoffs, is he going to be that guy? I mean, that's months away, and we have to get there first, right?
Yeah.
um, but he's had a good season for what he has shown us in the past couple of years. He's done well.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the other guys real quick. We'll run through these and we'll kind of talk about the game because we're spending a lot of time on here. You know what? I'll talk to you. Anybody on the bench that you want to kind of single out and chat about real quick?
I mean, I thought the bench really gave him a lift in the third quarter because that was kind of the one, they're trying to do their typical Grizzlies third quarter thing. And the first 5 coming out in the third quarter just didn't really have a lot of pop to them. And so, Blazers made a little bit of run, cut it to like 5 or 7 or whatever it was. Yeah. And then they stretched it out a little bit, couple, job plays that get to, 8 or 9 or whatever it was. And the bench came in and then they just kind of kept the energy, brought it back. And that's kind of really all we really need the bench to do, right? Is continue running the system, bring high energy. I mean, the Blazers were killing us on the boards and the bench comes in and they started fighting back on the boards. So, That's really kind of all you're hoping for. So the Grizzlies, even if they had just played poorly, they're still winning this game. The Blazers stink. Like they just stunk tonight, right? But I thought the bench really was kind of the story of why this was, instead of an 8 to 12 point win, it was a 25-point win. I think you can point directly to the bench production.
No doubt. And they played well. And the Grizzlies end up coming out 123-98, just completely a blowout. And even Yuki gets some shine. But let's shine a little bit on our player of the game. As a FanDuel Sports Network just put out, Ja never missed a beat. So Ja comes out tonight, 22 points, just 2 rebounds, which if you follow me on social media, if you follow me anywhere, I did say that Desmond Bane would have at least 6 rebounds tonight at plus 130, 7 rebounds at plus 290. I had him for 8 at plus 410. He didn't get the 8th one, but thank you, Ja, for letting Des have all the rebounds. But he had 11 assists, setting up people all night. The miraculous assists that he had, you can find all over social media, and end it in plus 22. So Ja Morant just playing his tail off and playing honestly and just setting up people just look like just the best player in the game, if not the top 5 player in the game. Definitely one of the top 2 or 3 point guards in the game. And so shout out to Ja Morant.
Yeah, he was awesome. Did not expect it at all. And it was great. Let's just please God put a shroud over him, a protection,
right?
A shield of protection over Ja.
No, because there's no way this team is any good if Ja is not on the court. And as everybody's seen, with Ja on the court, he looks amazing. Like he is the best player on the court almost every single night when he's able to play. The problem is he hasn't been able to play for stupid reasons, but also he's been able to play for injury reasons. So I had to give Ja some love tonight, and so we had to make him for sure the player of the game, but also him being a top 10 tonight on ESPN, which nobody really even watches anymore, but I would assume they still do the top 10 on ESPN. But as AC Surreal says, Ja just makes everyone so much better. And we'll talk about the rest of the guys, but we just had to make sure that we got him in here because he is by far our best player, and he's going to be our best player. He'll probably be the player of the game probably most nights moving forward. But let's continue our show a little bit, and we'll kind of move it as we keep on going throughout the night. We'll say that Ja continues to shine. What is up with these backgrounds? Who stole my background? This is not my background. I swear to God, we can't have anything good around here, people.
Well,
people want to mess up things.
Good night.
God, this irritates
me.
Thanks
for tuning in, everybody.
Anyway, all right. So I'll fix the background in a second. It irritates me that we set things up and then people come in and change things because they're a bunch of idiots. But tonight, you know who wasn't an idiot? It was that Jay Huff guy. I want to get your thoughts on Jay Huff because he has played well and he continues to play well. Tonight, he obviously knocked down some big 3-pointers. And I know people want to talk about him in the chat. And Keemix, I'm going to get to the Tigers eventually. Just give me a second. But I want to know about Jay Huff. And then we're going to talk about the offense because I've been against the offense.
Okay.
So I want to know a little bit about your thoughts on the offense. But first, let's talk about Jay Huff.
Yeah, I think you're going to know what game you have from Jay Huff within the first 2 possessions because he's probably going to fire up a 3 or do something. Like he had a full court where he's trying to dribble, and that was hilarious. And he inevitably tried to do behind the back and then just fell over, which is typical. But no, like, right away with Huff, if he's going to have a good game, he walks in straight into a 3-point stroke, knocks it down. Okay, we're going to get like 9 straight points out of this dude in 45 seconds.
Right.
Or he's just going to brick the first 3 things he touches. Like, okay, he should probably not play a lot tonight. So he is, like Brevin said, called him the microwave or whatever. And that is a great nickname for him because it's feast or famine with
Yeah.
Huff. And I think he had like 8 or 10 points in his first stint. And I think he maybe scored like 2 or 3 points the remainder of the time.
Mhm.
And so he's a great spark plug like that. I wouldn't call him a reliable part of this roster, but he is an ultimate wild card, which you just need. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, as long as the wheels don't completely fall off with him, then you just keep playing him in those little, 4 to 6 minute bursts and see what you
Yeah.
get out of him.
And that's what you're gonna get out of a guy like that is he's going to be a guy who comes in and, like, completely flips the game, and that's what you want about Jay Huff is you want him to come
Yeah.
in and flip a game, and that's really honestly what he can do, for sure. Drew says, "Is he an all-star?" I got a question
He should be
on
in the 3-point shooting contest.
yeah, for real.
He should get an invite. Yeah.
On Jay Huff, how old is this guy? Because can he be
24?
in the rising stars? Because how long is
I don't
his
think so.
career?
Is he considered a rookie? He's not considered a rookie, right?
I don't know. Somebody look us up. Drew, get on it.
They would be
Um,
him on stuff if it was rookies because he'd be up there.
yeah, but he had I think we see that, but I don't think he's. Let me look at his game logs. Let me go. Oh yeah, he's fourth season in, so he wouldn't even be a
Yeah.
rising star at this point.
Just a regular all-star.
Is he 38? I love it. All right, let's get to the last thing, and this is going to be about the offense. So, Lightning
Okay.
DJ wants to know thoughts on the new offense, kind of honed a little bit in screens, cuts off screens, backdoor, etc. Just overall, your thoughts on the offense, how it moves, and all that kind of
Right.
good stuff.
I mean, it makes sense for the roster that they have. Um, I'm not sure how it looks in a playoff series because we just know everything slows down, right?
Yeah,
Um, so I think for now, until everybody kind of gets it down, which is going to take time, right? There's still a lot of issues and kinks. We still have a lot of high turnovers, which you're just going to naturally have high turnovers in this kind of fast pace, moving, cutting, reading offense. That's just going to
right.
be part of it, right? Um, it can feel gimmicky because when we've had problems is when teams try to, if you notice, teams are starting to, well, if they're smart, the Blazers tried this tonight too, right? And they just sucked from 3, so it didn't help them. But teams are coming all the way up to
Yeah,
pick up the ball handler to just slow down the transition. And when we've had poor games against teams, they've been able to slow us down, or the 76ers throwing out a zone, like slowing down that attack. We still haven't been great in half
right.
court when we've been slowed down. And that's what this offense was supposed to fix, right? I have not seen a lot of half court, if we're truly in the half court, fix to the offense. I have not seen
Exactly.
that yet. That's why it feels gimmicky, because if they're not being able to get out and run and make that drive and start everything in transition, they're not easy to stop because everybody that's around has been able to ball handle and pass to the open guy, right? And it just comes down to the shot.
Mhm.
But I think it is more predictable. So what I'm
You think it
interested,
is?
I think it's more predictable when they're slowed down.
Okay, okay. Only when they're
Um,
slowed down.
when they're slowed down, yeah. I mean, it's completely unpredictable if you can't guard in half court or full
Yeah,
court, right? If the Grizzlies are just getting out and out and out, you can't even find your guy in
right.
transition. But Blazers had a decent, like when Robert Williams went out in the first half, and it was Jabari Walker
Mm,
in the third quarter. They were switching everything.
yeah.
It was giving the Grizzlies a problem. But they just can't keep that up consistently because they're the Blazers.
Right.
And they could not convert on the offensive end to save their life.
Yeah,
So I'm curious to see, how it evolves more, because I have a feeling this isn't it, right?
yeah.
Like I feel like there's going to be implementation of more and more like little subtle things to kind of help lift that. So I kind of feel like we're in phase 1 where we're at the basics of trying to get this thing down. And we're working on what different lineups to play with each other. The coaching staff is still tinkering with that. So I'm interested by what like phase 2, phase 3 of that
Gotcha.
is.
Yeah, and so and that's kind of where I'm looking at is like I want to see it when it's in a slowed down version. We're talking
Yeah.
about the offense and kind of how it breaks down. Honestly, I want to know your opinion. I know you've heard me probably say this many times. It looks like the John Calipari offense of 2008 when he was in Memphis, because if
Okay.
you look at what they're doing is it's catch and shoot
Right.
or dribble drives to the paint / you want to get to the free throw line, because if you can get to the free throw line, you have a chance at a dunker spot back door. You can kick out to the corner three. You can obviously spin it back out up top if you need to, or you can or you can continue your dribble to the front of the rim. That's
Right.
what it looks like to me. It doesn't look like it is just has so much like to it. And what
Yeah.
I've also seen is too many guys, and this is early, in the season. I don't want to completely just crap on it, but it just seems like there's two guys that they go to the same spot because the middle's open, and if it's open and they have a shot, it ends up being two guys run to the same spot, and then
Right.
at that point there ends up being stupid turnovers and stuff like that. So I'm curious how it continues to flow and evolve, and how it might kind of flourish when it actually gets slowed down.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm most interested too is like playing somebody like the Rockets again, who we know are super physical, a lot of length defensively, and they're rolling right now. Um, Someone like the Mavericks, like I'm very interested by when we play them, especially the Celtics. I mean, this is what the Celtics do at a higher 3-point volume, right? But they have the defenders on the other side, where if they're just missing all those threes, they have the defensive core to make up for that. Grizzlies don't really have a defensive core to make up for that right now, but they're just bombing people in the paint.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know what else you can ask from them. But at some point, there's going to be a time where the Grizzlies are going to have to make threes. And they shot well
100%.
tonight. I think they only took like 25 attempts from three tonight,
I was going to look at that real quick.
which has to be one of the lowest
28.
28. Okay. It's got to be one of the lowest 3-point attempt numbers of the season.
Yeah.
And they score 123 points. But there's going to be a point where I don't know if it's soon, a couple months from now, when we have everybody back, playoffs, where we're going to have to make outside shots. Like teams are just going to squeeze the middle and force us to just shoot and then pray, which is a good spot to be in, right? Because if teams have to defensively plan and they have to pick their poison, that's a great spot to be in.
Right.
We haven't had that in the past where teams could just collapse on Ja in the middle and they're just leaving Santi wide open, begging him to shoot, or, I can't think, or Dylan, like just leaving Dylan Brooks open. Please, dear God, shoot like the Lakers did. To be able to have it to where,
disgusting.
Okay, we've got to pick and choose. Do we want to let the Grizzlies kill us from inside the paint? Or do we want to risk them bombing us from three and getting out and running? Great spot to be in. So we'll just see where it goes from here.
No doubt. All right, let's get to last thing that we have, and this is going to come from Wayno. He wants to know about, and this is just kind of just having fun. So obviously there are expansion plans, and the expansion plans have even discussed that there would be no conferences anymore, right? So no West or East, and then that you would just honestly, you pretty much play everybody as is already, right? And so I don't even know the breakdown. Isn't it like 4 or 5 times you play your division teams, and then your conference teams you play like 3 or so, and then your other teams you play whatever the East teams you play everybody once, right? I do know that.
Yeah.
And so let's just say we limit that division games, and then you end up just playing everybody twice, or you play just a whatever, a culmination of something. It's just a coin flip every year. But I think that would be a very interesting thing to do. And I hope that ends up happening, because it will honestly make every game, in my opinion, count more, because you honestly can fall from like 7th to like 15th in that order within like a couple games, I would assume, because you're going to have more people stacked. So I think it'll make it more fun. It won't make it as easy on the guys, which in the end, I don't care about that. But Wayno wants to know about the 8 guys that you would protect on your current roster right now.
Ja, Bane, Jaren. Vince, Gigi. Got to think of everybody else.
That's
I
5.
probably need to look at the lineup. Wells, 2 more.
3, 4, 5, 6. Yep.
Um,
All right, so this is Arts. We'll kind of give you a little second to think. So Jabane, Wells, Jaron, Edie, Vince, Gigi. And then it's between Laravia, Santi, and Clark. So you have the same Jabane, Jaron, Wells, Vince, Gigi, and he has Edie. Are you protecting Edie?
I think I would go Clark, Santi
Wow.
if I had to. Yeah. I think I would do Clark and Santi.
Why are you protecting Clark?
I like Clark. He's a good player.
All right.
No, you're against him, and that's fine.
I'm not a big BC guy. I'm honestly not a big Edie guy either, but I understand that you're not as sold on Edie as well as I'm not. We're the kind of same boat, but I think that Edie has more upside than Clark does, personally.
Probably long term, right? Yeah, because just with an Achilles tear,
Right.
just that alone. But yeah, I mean, this is just for fun. I don't want to go in too much of a dynamic of just like playing style and playing together. Forget all that. Yeah, I guess if you're doing an expansion draft and you're looking for the long term, then Edie would probably be the better fit over Clark. You would probably let Clark walk or available to be picked up by the expansion team.
Well, and that's the other thing is like, would the expansion team want a Brandon Clark?
I think they
would. Maybe because they're out
in
obviously they would be out in Seattle and maybe it's close to Canada. And, maybe they think they can get some people to come over and watch. I don't know. If it's me, I'm not keeping BC, probably.
The worst marketing team ever.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we got Brandon Clark. Come down from Canada.
Hey,
come watch us
guys.
play.
I have a rap album coming out. Brian Conley saying he's protecting Jades, Jaron, Wells, Clark, Edie, Gigi, and Laravia. So no Santi love there. I would keep Santi. I think Santi's good enough. I was a big David Roddy guy. I thought David Roddy was going to be a glue, like a good glue guy, and he just wasn't. Was not.
Like Nate would say, he got donged.
He did get donged. Wow. All right. Now do the same for the Bluff City Media crew. You can only save 5. All right.
I don't even know who.
I'm kidding. Don't make me do that right now. That's not what we do. All right, but we're gonna go through. The last thing I want to do is I want to ask you about some college stuff because obviously you're a big college guy.
And in March,
in March, but we did have a big win.
Hey.
It was I missed the first. I missed the first half completely. I took my wife to physical therapy today to get her PT in. And I ran with the kids home real quick, took down a light from the ceiling, ran it back to Costco, hopped back in the car after we got a new one from Costco because I didn't like that one. We went back to physical therapy. She gets out and she goes, I think the Tigers are like playing. I go, why aren't the Tigers are not playing right now? I was like, they're playing in Maui. I don't think that game's till later. And I looked down, it's like 3 or something like that. I go, they're playing right now. And I pulled it up, ran home, watched the rest of it. So the Tigers end up getting a big win. They had a 14-point lead with 4 minutes or 13-point lead with 4 minutes to go in the game. Completely just kind of killed it and let them kind of shoot the lights out in a sense. UConn did, and shout out to UConn who shot very well, and kind of just played very well down the stretch. But thoughts on that Tigers win, man? How big is it?
Yeah, that's a huge win, right? Like there was, they've had quote unquote good teams in the past. But the shot making that you kind of saw, and I didn't get to it till late either. Like I was just getting home from work in the afternoon, and I think one of my friends texted me like, "Are the Tigers going to be able to do this?" And I was like, "What?" I didn't even realize they were playing. So I looked and they were up, like you said. So I pretty much kind of tuned in right before you did, before the run at the end. But to have Haggerty go out
I thought they were doomed when he
I thought
went
they were
out.
done. Yeah, I thought there was no way, but Tyrese Hunter was awesome. Like his shot making on that. That was kind of thing
Right.
I noticed for the Tigers was they have a couple actual shot makers where I felt like in the past they had some theoretical. Like I know David Jones last year was a shot maker, right? Creator.
Right.
Um, but they had kind of theoretical other guys, and I think that Caleb Mills guy was, but then he got hurt, which was kind of towards kind of was like the ticking clock to the end of the Tiger season, probably when he went down last year. But yeah, just kind of the shot making and the defense and the hustle. Like it was an impressive win because UConn was giving. It wasn't like UConn was taking the game off.
No
Like
doubt.
they were trying as hard as they could. They wanted a game. Hurley was acting like a fool, which is typical for that entire family. Um, it was really nice to beat them. It was
Absolutely.
nice to rub it kind of in Hurley's face. Yeah.
Two quick things from that. One, he needs to own what he said. If what he said was true, my wife, before switching from her role that she was in to now being a first grade teacher, she was a preschool special ed teacher. He dropped he called him effing R word. All right. I know in the 90s everybody grew up. That was okay to say, right? Back in the 90s was crazy. It's the Wild Wild West, for God's sake. But it was okay to kind of say that. That's what you were just, whatever. But now, like, obviously it hurts me when I hear that now, is because I grew up. I've been with my wife for over 10 years now. And so I've learned that, you don't say the R word
Oh,
because,
I thought you were referring to your wife as that. I was like, Jesus, dude.
no, you don't say the R word. You don't.
She's got a torn ACL. Jesus.
And so that's where I kind of went down and I saw that. And so that's disappointing. But that's the
Yeah.
downside. The positive side, the Tigers did get 38 votes to be in the top 25. The latest polls that came out, they just beat the second ranked team in the nation on
Yeah.
a neutral court, which is big. And it wasn't a home win that people can maybe take from them, even though they did have to travel to Hawaii to play. But still, it was a fair game. I'm curious how high in the top 25, as long as they don't do something stupid. And I don't know the next game,
They
but
play Michigan State. I know that.
right. So I'm curious how, like, win or lose against that Michigan State. I wonder how high they can get up in that top 25.
I would guess that if they ran the table this week, that they'll probably be close to the top 10. Like that would be
Wow.
my assumption. Like
Okay.
just to have three quality UConn, Michigan State, and whoever it is between who's on the other side, like Iowa State and I can't remember who the other one.
Don't
But
get me lying.
if they knock off two top 10 teams and a good Michigan State team in 3 days, like that's just going to catapult you.
Yeah. North
Really
Carolina's
high.
over there. They're
In
playing
North Carolina.
in
Okay.
about 30 minutes. They're playing Dayton. I don't know the other game that I see. So
Yeah. Also, can you imagine Dane Hurley coaching the Lakers right now?
he would
With
be
that,
going nuts.
can you
And
imagine him talking that way to like,
LeBron would murder him.
oh my, he
King
would
Meek
just would
says he
not make
was acting like he was on acid and natty lights all night. Absolutely.
it.
All right. Art's got a fantasy
Uh,
question. Fantasy
oh,
football. Would you guys be in favor of Bain plus Clark plus GG plus all picks necessary for Giannis? So not fantasy basketball, I'm sorry, but just fantasy in general of a trade. So would you be
oh,
willing to give up one of the big three, Ja, Jaren, and Bain? Would you be willing to give up, probably not Ja, Jaren or Bain to get Giannis?
yeah.
Okay.
As much as I like those three guys, Giannis,
Right.
uh, like I'm just gonna make the trade,
All right.
even though he has been like it. It's like reluctantly excited for the idea of that. Like I would hate to see all three of them plus picks go to Milwaukee, to Doc Rivers,
Right.
to
Sure.
the wasteland, but Serbia, but not Serbia, but I can't think of the word I'm trying to think of.
We'll just
But
say the
anyways,
desert.
we'll just move past. But
Would
yeah,
you?
it's Giannis. Like, I'm gonna take Giannis, even though
Is
the kind of recent injury history and his age.
right.
He's still one of the best players in the world. So
And the reason that you're going to put some guys in with some money because you got to make the
yeah,
money work. So you obviously, so those 3 in picks won't go there. Like we'd have to figure out a way to make the money work. Obviously, it would have to include a smart, right, or a third team, maybe a fourth team to better, manufacture something like that. But I like the
yeah,
idea. It's a good
yeah.
question. All right, let's go ahead and get into everybody's favorite, King Mix's favorite. We're gonna go through one, the other. This is Grizz Trivia. All right, Ryan, we had a big rebounding night out of our guy Santi Aldama.
Mhm.
But there's been a lot of conversations around the Grizzlies as of late, especially with going in out and getting Edie. I didn't even do this tonight. I'm sorry. I did. I'm kind of slacking over here. My bad. So the Grizzlies obviously they lost Steven Adams. I guess it was like last season when they traded him out. Now they brought in Zach Edey, and so rebounding has been an issue overall for the Grizzlies. Just kind of making sure, like, hey, how do we somehow get to be a good rebounding team?
Right.
If I was to say that Santi was the leading rebounder on this team, would you be shocked?
Um, I wouldn't be shocked, but I'd be like, really? Maybe more so disappointed.
Do you know who leads our team in rebounding then?
I would assume it's Edie.
It
That
is
would be my
not
guess.
Edie.
Okay. Um, let's see. Is it Brandon Clark?
It is not Brandon Clark.
Jake LaRavia.
It is not Jake LaRavia.
Scottie Pippen.
It's not Scotty Pippen. It's Santi Aldama, for crying out loud.
Oh, I thought it was a trick question.
It is not a trick question. All right, let me get to my real question here. So the Grizzlies obviously have had problems with rebounding in the past, and they're having problems. In a sense, a lot of people have said it is a problem that they wanted to make sure that they cured. But if I had to say, the Grizzlies are what rank in rebounding differential
Oh,
for the season? What would you say it was? What would their rank be? 1 to 30. Or is it 30? 30. Yeah, not 30.
just in total rebound differential.
Rebound differential. So obviously, how do we out rebound the other team?
Yeah, I think we're top 3.
We're not in the top 3.
Top 5.
We are in the top 5.
Okay.
The Grizzlies are ranked 4th. Any idea what we are? Because would you say that the Grizzlies are a offensive rebounding team or
Yes,
no?
they
Yes.
are. Yeah.
They're not really. They pretty much break even. They're 0.7 better in
Oh.
offensive rebounds than they give up. But in the defensive end is where they shine. On the defensive end, the Grizzlies rank the best. They have a differential of 3.8 over the other team. And so if you look at these other teams and how they're playing, obviously offensive rebounds is obviously a key to getting extra possessions. But on
Yeah.
the defensive end, the Grizzlies have been a really good rebounding team. And that goes to the defense in a sense, but also goes to a lot of the guards. And so the guards on this team have rebounded very well. And so just want to give a shout out to them as rebounding because it has gone unnoticed. I haven't heard a lot of people. Have you heard a lot of people talking about their rebounding this year?
Only negatively, I would think is
That's
how I've heard that.
normal.
I mean, it was bad tonight. Now the numbers don't look so bad, but
Okay.
like if I remember right, the Blazers had 19 offensive rebounds
Yes.
and they only had like 5 or 6 more defensive rebounds. Like that that's truly a wild thing, right? And that just shows how many shots they were missing.
Right. Well, and that's kind of what I want to get to a little bit is like just like
Yeah.
tonight, the Grizzlies, I don't think they've been a very good offensive rebounding team. And that's why I want to ask that question because they're pretty much
Yeah.
even 0.7 into the positive. But tonight they were out rebounded on the offensive end, 19-16. On the defensive end, that's where they thrive. They cut people's possessions they hold people to one possession. Tonight, 44-25. So they're obviously scoring a lot more. Those are completely flipped numbers because of the Grizzlies, shooting well, shooting 50% on the night, 42.9 from 3-point. But they are holding teams to just one possession normally on the defensive end. And that's why they've been the best defensive rebounding team in the entire league.
Yeah, so we can go straight into the look ahead from here if you want to, because that is exactly what I have on the Detroit Pistons.
Let's get it. Let's go.
The Detroit Pistons, we're playing them Wednesday. Look, the Detroit Pistons, every game is like doing a line of coke and then spinning around a bat 15 times and then trying to run down a dark hallway. Like that is playing the Detroit Pistons. You have no idea what the game is going to be. Something wild is going to happen. But the one thing that the Pistons do is they offensive rebound, right? Like their offensive rebound percentage is like top 6 in the league, and we're one right about ahead of them. So I do think that you can look to, normally tonight you could say, hey, look at the rebounds. You can probably guess what happened in the game. You couldn't say it tonight about the Blazers because they offensive rebound really well, just couldn't fall in the basket. So the Pistons are going to do the exact same thing. So expect a very similar game on Wednesday against the Pistons, with them going for every hitting the offensive glass really hard. And so let's hope that, they're missing their shots as well. But Cade Cunningham has been awesome for them. Jaden Ivey was amazing tonight. Hit the game winner for them.
Yeah.
So they have done a lot better. They've played a lot harder under, JB Bickerstaff versus Damani Williams, who didn't want to be there, just collecting checks. So,
yeah,
but they're gonna hit the offensive glass, just like the Blazers tonight, and probably even more so. So we'll see if the Grizzlies. It's probably a good thing that it happened tonight against the Blazers, because then they know they're about to play the same thing. Then they can kind of protect and plan around that better, and know they're going to actually, they can't get lucky and a team shoots 17% from 3 back-to-back games.
Yeah. And looking at, we obviously know about Jalen Duren, who's on this team. We have, obviously we're going to have Brandon Clark going up against him. I would assume that you have that. I don't know. How would you run that out? Because looking at this now, is that Tobias Harris? Yes, Tobias Harris. And they start, Tim Hardaway Jr., which if you want a wagon, go in the under of Tim Hardaway Jr. He's allergic to rebounds. His rebound line is at 2.5. Let me just read off the last time he had 3 rebounds.
2020.
It's been a minute, okay? He had a game where he had 4 and 5 back to back, and then he never did it again the entire season. That's it.
Yeah.
Like Tim Hardaway Jr. does not rebound the ball, but
he shoots threes, but that's about it.
He does, but he doesn't shoot that many. Michael Beasley, last game for them, 3 of 14 from 3.
Yeesh.
But their biggest rebounder has been, looks like Jaden Ivey started for them tonight in place of Cade Cunningham. Is Cade Cunningham out? Do we know?
I didn't know he was out. That's news to me.
So Cade Cunningham was out last game.
Okay.
Return date is November 27th. Yep, that's 2 days.
That's Wednesday. How about that?
So I'm curious. It's his hip. He was rolled out for Monday's game against the Raptors. But Cade Cunningham, you're talking about a rebounder. That guy has been rebounding like crazy. He's for 4 straight games, he's had 10 plus assists. And then he's had 6 or 7 pretty much rebounds a lot of times. So I'm curious, as Black and DJ saying right here, is the Jekyll and Hyde who they are, and so for sure. But real quick, get an update. The Harbaugh Bowl is over. I was looking at our number tonight, and I was like, "How is our number so low compared to most nights?" And I thought it was you, Ryan. I was gonna blame you. And then I'm watching over here the Harbaugh Bowl. But the Browns, not the Browns and the Broncos, they just showed that on there. It is the Chargers and the Ravens. Who do you think won? Have you seen anything?
I haven't seen anything, but I would just guess the Ravens.
The Ravens did win. They were favored by 3, 2.5, 3 all week. They ended up winning by 7, 30-23.
Oh, wow.
And so if you're following me, I swept the board tonight. Impressed? You should be. but I swept all 4 of my picks tonight on the game. So I looked at it. We broke it down completely, and it was a good night. So the Harbaugh Bowl is over, 30-23. The Ravens win. But let's go through the last part of them looking at the Pistons. You're talking about rebounding.
Yeah.
Who is their best rebound? It's got to be Duren, right?
It's Duren, yeah. And I mean, Isaiah Stewart comes in off the bench and he rebounds well for his size. But Asor Thompson is back. So he was a monster on the boards last year. So I'm not sure if he's like on a minutes restriction thing, but
he just got back.
I think tonight was his first game.
I think so.
If I saw he played any minutes, but he was all energy last year. Like, you remember.
Yeah.
Like, he was making us money hand over fist. Because his line was like 3 or 4 for forever, and he kept getting 10 or 12. So that's what he does. He's an energy guy, just like Ron Holland. But with everything with the Pistons, it's about shooting. So
100%. And shout out to you. Shout out to your clear Wi-Fi, your clear microphone. Everything's just clear. It's a new setup. So Ryan's gonna be.
It's just like Meek said earlier. I had to go to the neighbor's house for Wi-Fi. So bring that back.
He did. He knocked on the door like,
I turned on the chat this time, so you be proud. All right.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So be part of the group.
I think, one time we did a show with a new person and on our on Driving the Line, and he was like, "What are y'all talking about?" Like during the middle of the show, he goes, "What are y'all even talking about?" Or like, "Do you not see this chat? Like it's just like it's moving." He goes, "I don't see anything. Nobody said anything." And he's like, "Oh, I need to click that button," and then he didn't click it, and so he was like, "Oh, there's all the people." He goes, "I thought nobody was watching. I thought it was just us." Nah, bro, it ain't how it works. But as Shane says, good win tonight. It was fun to watch. It was a good game overall, from the very beginning. I don't know if they won wire to wire, but I know they were winning early. I don't know if they scored the first few points or not. But
yeah, they did. They started like on an 8-0 run.
There you go. Little wire to wire win. All right, last thoughts. We obviously are going to be here Wednesday night. I believe Nate will be back. I don't think he's traveling for any Thanksgiving holidays just because his kiddo's there. I think his mother-in-law is there for like a month or 2, maybe 3. And so it should be one. That's a lot of help. As long as they can all be cool and get along, it's amazing to spend that quality time with a grandchild. For the grandparents. And so pretty cool. But last thoughts. Anything else you got before we get out of here?
No, it's nice to win. And that's all we're looking for. And everybody just stays healthy.
Yeah. It's when they win, Grizz Twitter just goes a little bit calmer. The seas have just kind of stayed a little chill. I like it. I like it. All right, that's all we got. Listen, this has been a fun time, Ron. Thanks to you for kind of hanging out with me and stepping in for Nate. Anytime that we need somebody to kind of step in, Ryan is going to be our third guy. That way we can kind of keep it consistent. A lot of times last year, it was like, all right, I need to grab somebody random. And it was like getting to know them. And I know it's cool to have guests on, and that's fine. But it's hard to get through and talk about the game, and you're trying to figure out, the chemistry with them. So it's easier for me because, we're only doing these during the week. So it's easy for me since, I don't have to build that chemistry, fresh, brand new every night. But we'll get out of here. As Art says, 12 is back. John Morant is back, and it was fun to kind of see him show up. But that's all we got. We'll see everybody on Wednesday night. Make sure you tune in. I know it's about to be Thanksgiving, but tune in. We'll hang out with you. We'll have a turkey leg or turducken or something. But for Ryan, I'm Daniel. We'll see you all then. Be nice and tell your friends.